My name is Sabrina Dorman. I'm co-founder and co-CEO of Zoomy. I'm from the United States originally, just outside Washington, D.C. But I kind of consider myself a citizen of the world at this point. I never thought of myself as an entrepreneur in my early part of my career. So Zoomy was actually originally going to be a different business model. My background is e-commerce. My co-founder's background is e-commerce, and so originally we were going to do an e-commerce platform for women who are they can't find the clothes that they want at the price that they want in the market. They have to go to Toy, or they have to go to Gikomba, or they have to, order expensive stuff from Amazon, or they have to order stuff from Jumia. I know more about Afro hair, I think, than any of my American friends from home will ever know in their lifetime. It's your identity. It's the young Kenyan woman. It's part of her identity, actually. And so it's been fascinating to learn how personal the hair experience is, the journey is, the products, trying different styles, the routine of it, the going to, Kenyatta market. It's been really educational for me to kind of learn about how much this is it's personal, it's culture, it's hair is super, super important. We've done a lot of video series about hairstyles and things like this, so I know about everything from all the different clasps and lace front wigs and different colors of braids and the different ways to install it. I'm a bit jealous of how many different cool hairstyles you can do in a year with Afro hair. And mine is just straight. This is all it does. This is it. There's no other option. What drives me? Gosh, you're gonna get back to my childhood probably. I think a lot comes from parents' expectations of you or your peers' expectations of you. A lot is what I think other people expect of me, and therefore I kind of push myself forward. So maybe it's a little bit of a competitive spirit where I always feel I have to be building something bigger and better and things like that. I think that was more the case when Zoomy was started. It was how cool would it be to build your own business? And then you start it and you're like, well, this can't fail, so I better be really good at this. And now, kind of where we are now, and that Zoomy is a bit more, it's a bit more of a solid idea and solid vision. Now it's the team. Now I have this amazing team around me where I want to give them the freedom to go out and make really, really creative content and stuff and involve, young Kenyan women. And so I feel they depend on me to be able to push the envelope forward. So that's kind of the stage I'm in right now, is I'm motivated by my team rather than at the inception was probably just sheer type A competitive psychology. I'm really good at, you've heard the phrase, jack of all trades, master of none. That's me, yeah. So I'm really good at being a jack of all trades. I've never really put in the dedication to be a true expert at anything. So I have some friends who are coders, and they'll spend all night I don't know, designing a website or I don't know, coding something. I can't do that. that is not my strength. So I'm very good at networking and finding the right people to do the right things. I'm all about going out and finding people who are smarter than you to bring into your inner circle and make whatever you're doing better. I think I always knew that was really important, but I remember, was anybody here last year when Jack Ma came to Nairobi? Yeah, so I saw him speak and he said exactly that. He was like, I'm a teacher, I'm not an expert at any of this stuff, but I hired smart people. And I was like, oh, that really resonates with me. I'm like, that's exactly what I'm about. Because A, you're never gonna be a master of anything, right? Or of everything, excuse me. And B, how else are you gonna learn, right? You always wanna look for a mentor or somebody you can bring into your circle who's gonna teach you a little bit more about something that's just outside kind of your realm of expertise. With multiple people on my team, there's been this moment where It's not a moment, actually. It's kind of, usually I'm looking back over like the past 3 months and I realized it's happened, where they've come onto the Zoomy team, they're quiet, they're kind of figuring out what they're doing, what their voice is, etc. And then, yeah, somehow 3 months down the line, I'm looking back and I'm like, oh my God, this person has blossomed. It's like gone from the flower bud to like a fully like blossomed flower, in terms of confidence in what they're doing, what they're saying, in terms of like exploring creative avenues that were outside of what they originally came to Zoomy for. And then also, really it's been cool to see people think about the future. So that's been incredibly rewarding for me and hopefully also for my team. I would also say some people are not inclined to do that. So we have also had people come through Zoomy and like you give them that freedom and they're like, it's almost like it's too much choice and it's not for them. Doesn't match their personality. At a dinner party with friends, just like a bunch of good friends got together and like laugh about goofy stuff. I don't know. I feel like I have one of those every other week. That always happens when I'm kind of like removed out of my like day-to-day element. So it's either like we're at a dinner party and we're all in this kind of environment together where it's like super fun and everybody can let loose, or it's something like you take a weekend trip away to like go camping or something. Something like that. Yeah, I think I'm very serious when I am in my work environment and in my day-to-day routine and week, and then when I'm removed from that, that's when I let loose with friends and kind of just am silly. I would always recommend people get out of Nairobi, actually. I do love it as a city, but there's so much adventure to be had in Kenya. I think Amboseli is incredibly beautiful. It's like right on the border with Tanzania and you can see Mount Kilimanjaro and all that. It's amazing. There's one place, and I can't remember the name of it, where I've never gone, but it's where, you know, they have like the elephants at Sheldrick, and then when they go and they are like starting to reintroduce them. So there's the place, I think it's in Savo or somewhere near there, where you can kind of go and hang out with them. It's like the teenage elephants and they're like kind of trying to find their herd, you know, and like getting rejected and then maybe get, you know what I mean? But apparently you can go like hang out with them there. So I'd love to go do that. I think Mount Kenya is probably one of the most beautiful mountains I've ever been on. So if anybody has the guts to go climb it, it's totally worth it. I'm always thinking about new places to go, so it's hard to think back on the ones that I've been to. I think one thing I will say about Kenya that I find really cool is it's kind of this like almost, it's super cosmopolitan. Like you meet, everybody in the world comes through Nairobi at some point or another. And I find it a really great place to live, both from like, there's this energy for what I do, like kind of the startup world, the tech world. The economy is like growing, moving and shaking, the city is changing. And then you also have a lot of just really smart, interesting people coming through Nairobi, and there's so many like intersections of where to meet them and events happening, and I find that to be really enriching, to live in a place like that. And I've lived in a lot of places in the world, and I really love this city. You know, it's, you know, I have friends in New York. I go back to New York every year. I've lived outside Paris. I've lived in Singapore. I've lived in Washington, D.C. I've visited a lot of places, and there's just, I don't know, this place is moving and shaking, and I really, really like that. I also think it's a place where there's a lot of like inter-African continent exposure. So we also launched Zoomy in Nigeria last year. So we have my business partners out there in Lagos. And the amount of actually like back and forth that we've had with like contacts, you know, going from Lagos to Nairobi, and also like Joburg and Cape Town has been really, really cool. So we feel like a lot more connected with just people on the African continent now that we've actually like opened an office over there, and we've seen how much like crossover there is between the two markets. I think a lot of people don't do something because they think there will be a lot of obstacles, or they think it will be hard. And I think if you get over that and just do it, you'll figure it out as you go. I've had a lot of like friends who have not traveled abroad and like, you know, have been doing the same job for the last 10 years, which, you know, I applaud them for that. That's amazing, because I don't think I could do it. But kind of be like, what? You're always traveling, you're always doing something new, you're always, you know, now you're building your own company. Like, how do you just like decide to do that? And the truth is, you know, it's not that big of a deal, actually. I think you just kind of decide you're gonna do it, and then you roll with the punches after that, instead of like building up all the pressure ahead of time.